Shalom, 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 and welcome to the Nexus, our Thursday night time where we take a little bit of our week to take a look at Torah and all things biblical. jamestheidolsmasher at gmail.com is my email address, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Folks on Rumble have been incredibly gracious, and we appreciate that. We got on tonight. We are on Rumble tonight. We made it. So far as I can see, everything's running smoothly right now. Also, I want to thank the folks over at YouTube and Twitter who actually tune in at a bit less numbers, but we're certainly glad to have you here, and we want you to join. I can't get the link up on Twitter, but if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, right over here is a StreamYard link, and you click on that, bada boom, bada bing, you're in. Catchy topic tonight, controversial topic tonight, and that is illicit sexual behavior. I was a little nervous about putting the word sexual in the title and in the description. On Rumble, it wasn't letting me work it last week. Which was fine. It was the 8th day of Hanukkah. But this week, I took the word sex and sexual out because illicit sexual behavior is the law, and it let me post. So, prohibited relations, however you want to look at it, we're going to talk about one of the biggest vampires in American Western society, but American in particular. I think it's worse here. I haven't been over in Europe. Never left the continent. Spent a good time in Canada and a little bit in Mexico here and there for visitation. But no, I've never been to Europe, but I can guarantee we've probably got it worse off here. I think a lot of Europeans are like going, you don't think so? So why I picked half French, half German, I have no clue. But there you go. I want to be European. Most of my blood comes from Scotland. So, there's still a debate whether we're part of the continent or not. So tonight, of course, we've got the Parsha we can get into as well in a half Torah reading, but I kind of want to discuss illicit sexual behavior. I want to be using this particular book as a guide. It's controversial enough among garish folk, but it's the Divine Code. Rabbi Moshe Weiner wrote a good book. I think that Michael Schulman might not be the best editor for this job. I would hope that maybe the rabbi can allow another translation through a different, because I've caught what might be considered sorcery in this, witchcraft, where certain things are left out so bigger points made. And by the reaction of Ger Torah, it makes sense why. I don't want to go off and say that I don't really know, but it certainly was an issue. However, a good chunk of it's real, and whether I can get into the specifics and commentary that are made by the author or the editor, and then other things that are just excellent. The source material in this is phenomenal when you look at certain things. Now, the perspective of the Divine Code is what gets you killed and what doesn't. So a lot of the times you're going to hear me say things like capital sin or liable for, or is liable. That is liable for death. The 7 no-hide commandments, if you want to call them that, the Sheva Mitzvot, the Sheva Mitzvot, the 7 universal laws are all worthy of the death penalty, violation of those laws. Lawlessness is in itself a violation of Torah law. Okay, Noahide law. It's in Torah, but it's just stick to the 7 because we're going to talk about the non-Jew tonight and how things are really things aren't much different in my personal opinion. I'm going to edit some of what this guy says out because the big stuff is what I want to go for in regards to the prohibition of illicit sexual behavior. So. Without further ado, hopefully we're going to get Rosalie in here. Maybe she can give us a lady's perspective, or maybe she's like, I'm staying out of this. I'm going to watch. So if you're watching out there, Rosalie, hi. Shalom, and I hope things are going well. I think a lot of our problems in America today stem from this issue, from the sexual revolution to those involved in a part of it, having children. The generation between that and the influence of Stanley Kubrick used the word something like eye-popping psychedelia. And that's really what it is. I mean, the naked form was considered art for many times. Then you get to Pompeii, and things are different. What we're discussing here is not far off from us now. I know that we're going to get a lot of this. We do this right now. We're better now, and we have civilized ourselves in many ways. But we have issues that we need to work out. Shalom, shalom, Rosalie.
Hi, thank you for the link. Finally,
I know. I forgot. I didn't put it up, and say lovey.
That's okay. I just got home. I just got home like within the last 10 minutes.
Well,
rushing around like a chicken with my head cut off, but hey, I'm here and I'm ready.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm discussing the law itself and why I need to study it and use this. Is going to be the guide. It will not be a direct, because there's some, like I say, there's some.
Yep.
I'm going to say sorcery, because I've seen whole sentences have been cut out of the Talmud with a ... with an ellipsis.
Really?
When Rabbi Katz came down from Israel down to Texas, and I got to meet up with him that one time. We went over it.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly where it was. I didn't have it with me. I didn't bring it. I brought my Chumash. I brought my Siddur. And
right.
So, and he's like, who can spot the witchcraft? And we all gather around, and he's got the page open. And it was, he's cutting that out. Now let's look at the actual verse. And it was like something that adhered to the Ger Toshav Sugya, if you will. And he took it out because later on he's going to make a differentiation between a Ger Toshav, which doesn't exist. Like high priests, they don't exist. You tell me there's no Cohen? No, there's Cohen, but they're not priests. Well, they are in the line, but then there's no temple, so they don't exist right now.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Yeah, we know who. Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that. It's a whole separate. Don't get me Ger. I came across a Facebook post I made a couple of years ago. It's like, I'm not talking Ger anymore, because I just got tired of all the controversy and the arguments and the war.
Oh.
So I don't want to get into that, because I'm more than ready to talk about it now. But because I picked up this book, which I say Moshe Rabbeinu did a great thing in putting this together.
Bye.
So without further ado.
Oh, hey, it's been a trip. Yesterday, I about rocked my socks off. I laughed so damn hard over a couple things. I'm scrolling through there, and it's like I'm looking down. And all of a sudden, there's this thing. What are the stupid cities in the state of Michigan? And they lifted off 25 of them. And guess what? Where I live is number 2. I live in the runner-up to the stupidest city in Michigan. Woohoo!
Congratulations.
Yeah, fuckers. I could have told you that.
You don't look any better. I mean, you can't look any worse. I mean, if you're there, then you're big fish in a little pond.
Yep, it was a survey, and they did it. It was like a professional survey. It's like they did from the age of 25 on up, the dropouts, the people, all this, and they went through it. It's like, damn, no kidding. Yep. So I thought that was interesting. And the best funny that I had, all the chicks, all the girls and the kids around here got to have a hair weave. And it's got to go damn near to their knees or ankle. And it's funny. I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this one picture. There's a black chick in there with blonde, real tight curly hair, with the weave on it. And it says, oh my God, she's got 4 feet of chicken ramen noodles hanging from her head. I fell out. Needless to say, that got a lot of mileage on my page too. So it's like, hey, and we're number 2 stupid? Yeah, right. That fits.
It doesn't show. How would they come up with that? I'm changing hats because it gets hot in the shack, and it's not cold out today. It's actually quite damp and warmer. So change a hat that I can breathe in a little better here. So I'm going to get a little wet. And we're talking about a heavy topic. So YouTube just might take this off. We'll see.
Right.
Because we have to get nitty gritty. Torah faces evil in right up to it. Does not shy away from evil.
No.
Christianity tends to want to dumb things down for children and not tell them everything.
They dumb things down for adults too.
Did God think that the children shouldn't hear the what is the eighth commandment, or no, the sixth commandment, not to commit, or sixth or seventh, not to commit adultery? Because they heard that too at Sinai. The children heard it. Babies heard it. Everybody heard it. Probably took it better than the older folks. I'll tell you that.
Right.
We have just an issue. I live in Kansas, and I thought. This is a big topic with me because I was these people. I was out there. I was one of these who went to bars. When my marriage got done, I was at the bar.
You made up for lost time.
Older women that they were women and beautiful.
Okay.
And I actually had a woman, about take me home. Turns out she was married and didn't tell me.
That sucks.
Happened up here as well when I first came here before I met my wife. I used to do a karaoke gig on the side. I had a radio job, and she would come up every Sunday or Saturday or whatever I was working at that time. And my sister would come up with her friends because she's a great singer. My sister's a phenomenal singer. And, goof off and have fun. They got to know each other and have fun. She's really great. She likes you. And we'd swap some spit a couple times. And she comes over to my house 8 a.m. out in this little town, calls me up and says, "Mom, wait to see you." I didn't even know where I live. How to get my address. And she's like, "I'm married." You know that song Little Rock by Reba McEntire? I was like, I'm thinking Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm from Texas, and I drive to Memphis. I drove to Memphis quite often back then for Elvis. Little Rock, Arkansas. I have no idea what Reba McEntire. I just no, it's about taking her ring off and putting and what she did was she took the ring off and put it in the her rock off, the little rock, put it in her cup holder and came into the bar.
Nice.
I'm like, I can't do adultery.
No.
Those are my words to her. The look on her face was, up here in Kansas, guys don't care if you're
good for you.
They don't care if you're married, and half the women don't care if they're married either. I've seen it with my own eyes. And that's the stuff among mostly have what you would call decent people out here. There's some sick, evil stuff going on. I think we all know it. I think we all know what I'm talking about here, but there's a lot more under the surface. So let's just get to it. This is we're gonna follow along this book as merely a guide from the rabbi, and we're not taking direction from the editor. From the Divine Code, Chapter 1: Categories of sexual partners and sexual acts that are forbidden. This is dealing with non-Jews. Okay. 6 sexual acts are. This is number 1, first precept. 6 sexual acts are forbidden to Gentiles as capital sins, and an adult who participates willing in any of these is liable for death, unless it says otherwise, because there's a liable for the hand of heaven. There's a liable by a court of law or a court of justice on earth. A, intercourse between a male and his father's present or former wife who is not his mother. Intercourse between a male and his mother. Intercourse between a male and a female who is another man's wife, i.e. adultery, the married woman. Intercourse between a male and another male. We're talking the male homosexual act, okay? Anal, you know where I'm going. Yes, I didn't write the stuff. Bestial intercourse in which a male person is the active partner and any other species or creature, male or female, is the passive partner, or in which any person, male or female, is the passive partner, and a mammal is the active partner, is liable for death. Actually, in death, it's both. The animal and the person dies. Which is just terrible economic sense. I mean, come on. Intercourse between a male and his sister from his mother, i.e. his full sister, or his maternal half-sister. These, the 5 prohibitions A through E above, are learned from a single verse, because there's more. We got more coming. That single verse is, therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and cling to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Respectively, a man shall leave his father refers to his father's wife according to the oral tradition. These are capital sins. These acts are capital sins by divine decree. Intercourse in this context means penetration of one partner's abdominal area, two of them. Let's see. Yeah. By the male organ. However, any other type of sexual contact between these listed partners is also forbidden. A ruling government may forbid intercourse between other close relatives, or other types of sexual acts if deemed beneficial for society. See topic 9. We'll get to that. And I need my eyeballs. I was struggling with the whole thing. Everything you got that I just read comes from one verse. That's kind of how Jewish law works. We're not reading technically Torah law, which is constantly cited. Well, you'll be hearing that. It's also halakha, which is Jewish law. What does that mean? The Torah says, don't do this. Well, then how does that come up in practical application of the law? This stuff is worth nothing. The Torah, the Bible is worth nothing if it's not put into practice. So you need a law that extends, and that is part of the Torah commandment to set this up, to set up fair and balanced courts of justice. Okay, to set up courts to determine. So there has to be, and when a court makes a ruling, it's written down. It's part of the law now. It's halakha. So here we go. That's what we're getting into a lot here. Let's see. Adultery with a married woman, death, and they both die. And we'll get into other things. Okay, now moving on. A man shall leave his father refers to his father's wife according to the oral tradition. B, and his mother refers to the simple meaning. C, to cling to his wife, but not the wife of another man. But not to to his wife, which is feminine, but not to another male. Okay. Not the wife of another man, and to his wife, but not to another male. And they shall become one flesh, specifying human partners for a man and a woman combined as one flesh is conceiving a child. This is obviously Genesis 20:12. This excludes relations with domestic animals, wild animals, birds, etc., which humans cannot conceive and become one flesh. It is also written, she is my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and so she became my wife. This statement by Abraham teaches that the Noahide Code forbids relations with a sister or a half-sister from the same mother and permits marriage with a half-sister from the same father. Although all the above forbidden relations that are referred to in the cited verse, therefore a man shall leave his father, are mentioned therefore in reference to a man. The same prohibitions apply to women as well, as the verse concludes, and they shall become one flesh, in which women are included. Now, the whole mother and father thing and how certain things work also is going to get into how, because we're going to see first cousins are not prohibited to the non-Jew. Why? God commanded Noah and his 3 sons and their wives to populate the earth. There's no way they could do it without going first cousin. It just wasn't going to happen. So, yeah, okay, we are the product of what we would today call an incest from Noah. We are not the hardy species we once were. You know, Shem, Japheth, Ham, they all lived 900 years or so amongst people who were not so hardy. Now we've got citations. I'd like to get into this. there's a certain way you have to have children with Noah, and how they had to. It was actually quite. You had to be careful where you went, and this is the same. The same goes for the proper treatment of animals, because you can't just breed a horse and a mule. If a horse and a mule get it on without your making it happen or having a hand in it, it's one thing. But if you make it happen, it's actually prohibited. You've just crossed the line of the species that cannot ever reproduce. A mule can't reproduce, and cannot fulfill the commandment that God gave all living creatures to be fruitful and multiply. So there's ways about how we're going about this. I know some of it's going to sound strange, but there's good reason for it. Okay. Let me see if I got this right. Therefore, a Gentile woman is forbidden to have relations with her stepson, even after she is widowed or divorced from her father, her son, any man other than her husband, if she is married, an animal, or her brother or half-brother from her mother. The same precepts apply to these forbidden relations for women as for a man. There is separate but equal, but there's a lot equal in this. All right, we are going on to this is the next precept. I just read that. Oh no, that's okay. The second precept: the Gentile man is liable for relations with his mother. It doesn't matter if she's married to the father or not. A Gentile man. I don't like the word Gentile. Okay, non-Jew. We're just gonna say non-Jew because this includes Akam and everybody. Okay, this is a law that was put on mankind. No, you cannot be put to death if you don't know the law. If you haven't been exposed to it, if no one knows, you can't know. But this is what's expected of mankind anyway. And this is all transmitted at Torah. So it really comes from Torah first, because a lot of people forgot. Okay. A non-Jewish man is liable for relations with a woman if she has ever been his father's wife, even if she is not his mother. This prohibition continues under all circumstances, including after his father's death or after she was divorced from his father. Even if his father later died, or if she remarried and the relations would not also forbid his adultery, the woman remains forbidden for him for her entire life. On this, the designation of a woman as the father's wife applies only after she actually became married to the father, as marriage is defined in chapter 3 below. We'll get into that later on. In this context, the marriage bond of a husband and wife between non-Jews is established when the father and the woman have normal sexual relations with the intention to consummate a marriage relationship. That's from the Ramban, on Tractate Yevamot 98a, Sefer Sefer HaHinuah, Commandment 191. However, a non-Jewish woman does not become designated as the father's wife if they did not intentionally consummate a marriage bond through normal relations. This applies, for example, if they had abnormal relations. If they had normal relationships only for promiscuity but never for marriage, or if the woman was forced by rape or seduction. In all these cases, the woman does not become the father's wife, and she is permitted to marry the man's son. A female domestic partner of a man's father has the same status regarding forbidden relations as a wife with a formal marriage contract, so she is liable for relations with her partner's son. Abnormal relations refers to an expression for the act of heterosexual sodomy or something of that nature. Because there's, watch Family, just Google Family Guy fourth hole. It's funny. I hope I don't need to go any farther than that. All right. Abnormal relations mean it's not normal. It's, what I'm saying? It's not the male and female genitalia. It's considered abnormal. For non-Jews, this act does not consummate a marriage bond, even if the partners have that intention. What consummates a marriage bond is full on, baby. And if you don't trust it, then you shouldn't have married it. Okay. A non-Jewish man is liable for relations with his sister or half-sister from his mother in all cases, even if they do not have the same father, regardless of whether he or she was born from his mother through married, adulterous, or promiscuous relations. A Gentile man is forbidden to have relations with his mother or his sister or half-sister from his mother, regardless of whether either he or they are free persons or if they've been enslaved. In all these cases, a man and his mother, his full sisters, and his maternal half-sisters retain their status as forbidden partners. This comes from the reason why we're getting this when it comes to slaves is Tractate Sanhedrin 58b. And the Rambam, laws of forbidden sexual relations 1417 and 1419 imply that only for the biblical category of Canaanite slaves in the Torah Law for Jews, see Exodus 20 and 21, and Rashi, also there is no status of family relationships or marriage, but any other enslaved non-Jew is still bound by the Noahide code and has the status of relatives and marriage like a free person. Likewise, any of a man's sons are forbidden to have relations with any woman who he ever married. This applies even if the son, his father, or the woman are enslaved. We discussed this is because the Torah makes a specific example of a certain slave, Canaanite slaves. There are other sexual relations that are not in the category of capital sins for non-Jews, but they are nevertheless forbidden. Some authorities say these are forbidden as abominations to God, though Rambam, the laws of forbidden sexual relations 1410, rules that they are permitted for non-Jews. Permitted means they don't get to die for it. That's another, you say permitted. That permitted means you just don't die for it. Would you eat roadkill? No, you wouldn't. But the law would say, some people would say when reading a law, the non-Jew can eat roadkill. They are permitted for roadkill. It's like, well, what do you think of it? It means you can't be killed for eating roadkill. Now, if you rip the leg off a live animal, yeah, you can die for that. We're not going to kill you for eating roadkill.
Ew.
Right? Let's see. A full sister or maternal half-sister of a man's mother is forbidden to him, but a parental half-sister of his mother is permitted to him. For a full sister or maternal half-sister of a man's father, some rabbinical opinions hold that she is forbidden. But the main opinion is that she is permitted. A paternal half-sister of a man's father is permitted to him. That is according to Tractate Sanhedrin 58b. Maybe I should get the Talmud out next time I read out of this book. So I really like to see what they have to say on that and why. Can't believe it's a few days before Christmas and I'm up here sweating in the shack. Can you believe that? Yeah. Comment below if you have a question, compliment, complaint. I don't think we have any comments coming up here quite yet. We'll check over here on our Rumble stream and see how that goes. In just a little bit, I'm unable to get it up because a lot of my computers are now either software-defined radios or Part 15 FM stations for the neighborhood.
Cool.
Yeah, I got that running. I'm not making it public on the Facebook community page till after Christmas because I don't have any Christmas music set up.
That's good.
But yeah, it's going, and it's so far it's running just fine. So, God willing, it stays that way.
Mm-hmm.
The Torah law itself did not forbid a Gentile man from marrying his daughter, but this has been rejected from biblical times as a disgusting practice. That's the Ramban on Genesis 19:32, Rashi on Genesis 21. You know what? I'm going to look that up.
Go ahead.
Let's see. We got here. We're going to go over to our Chabad, learning and values. What are we looking at here? Just a moment. We'll just go Rashi on Genesis 21. So let's go to the Parshas, look up all Parshas. We're going to go to Vayera. Let's see if I can get the text out of here. Text and summaries. No, don't need summaries. Don't need a roundup. Vayira Torah reading. This is Bereshit, chapter 20. It's Genesis, chapter 20, verse 1. All right. And Abraham traveled from there to the land of the south, and he dwelt with Kadesh, and between Shur, and he sojourned in Gerar. She is my, and Abraham said about Sarah his wife, she is my sister, and Abimelech the king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. All right. So we're going up here and show the Rashi. I want to see how he came up with this. This is interesting. When he saw that the cities had been destroyed and the travelers had ceased to pass, he migrated from there. Another explanation to say, all right. Nothing at Chabad. Nothing. To distance himself from Lot, who had acquired a bad reputation because he had been intimate with his daughters.
Right.
Ah, there it is. He left because he wanted to distance himself with Lot, and we all know what happened there. There we go. That's from Rabbah 52, 3 and 4. There we have it. Okay. So I guess out of these 613 commandments, God thought that, maybe you shouldn't have relations with your sister as a universal law. All right. Torah law itself, this is 7. Torah law itself does not forbid a Gentile man from marrying his daughter, but has been rejected from biblical times. His daughter. I guess that's from the Ramban on Genesis. I have to get another source for that right now. You can be married to a man and his daughter at the same time. That's what they're saying here. That's crazy, but is an abomination. Okay, so you're not put to death for it. Again, the way they word these things, sometimes I say it's almost sorcery. When you take on, all right. A non-Jewish man is permitted to marry his ex-mother-in-law after his wife dies or is divorced from him. If she marries a woman and her mother at the same time, it is forbidden by Torah law. But it is not forbidden by Torah law, but it is an abomination, as topic 7 stated above. Within Torah law, a Gentile man is not forbidden to marry his maternal or parental grandmother.
Wow.
Sorry.
Ooh, Cougar night out. Yeah.
Oh.
Wow, kitty, cougar.
It permits All right. Let's just skip the rest of that. I think I've heard enough on that. Relations considered in topic 6 and 8 above are not forbidden for non-Jews within the Torah law, and they are therefore not liable to punishment for any of them within the Noahide Code. And if Gentile societies, okay. Gentile societies don't work. It doesn't matter. We're not looking here to better Gentile society. Okay, that's dead in the ditch. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
He's a coming. For every one of forbidden relations that are capital sins, both the man and the woman are equally liable. This applies only to a partner who is of mature age and acts voluntarily, but one who is not of mature age or is forced is not liable to punishment. A woman who is raped A woman who is raped by a forbidden partner is not liable to punishment. In contrast, how could a man be considered forced to act as the active partner in sexual intercourse because a man's erection only happens willfully? You think? No, it doesn't. It's got a mind of its own. There are times like, no, don't. Baseball, carpentry, power tools.
Okay.
Sorry. This can apply if it forces if forcers convince the man that they will kill him unless he has the forbidden relations. The man is being forced to do this. He is not required to give up his life to avoid it, and it is permitted for him to submit to having relations with a forbidden relative or married woman. However, this only applies if the woman consents to have the relations, even if she is forced to consent on a path of death. But even if the man is being threatened with death, he is not permitted to physically force the intercourse upon a woman against her will, even if she is not forbidden to him by Torah law. Even if she is single and not a relative, the man has no permission to do so, since it would constitute forceful rape, even if he is being forced to do so with the threat of death if he does not do it. Same applies to a man forced to commit homosexual relations. Intercourse with a forbidden partner was being physically forced upon by a woman, but in the midst of the act, after he had entered her, she began to desire the relations. This does not make her liable for punishment. For once the forced relations begin, it may not be possible for her to hold back from desiring it. Women get off a lot easier than women are treated softly in so many things.
Okay.
This also applies to a woman who starts having intercourse by mistake. For example, if she initially thinks the man is her husband, and in the middle of the relation she realizes that he is another man, then she is not liable, even if she allows the relations to continue, because she is the passive partner and not the active partner. However, if a man was forced to have forbidden intercourse because he was already ready, or if he is mistakenly thought she was his wife and permitted to him, and during the relations it became known to him that she was forbidden, then he should support himself motionless on his fingers and toes, so he derives no pleasure until his incident down there is lost, and then withdrew. If he does not do so, then his willful continuation of the act is not considered forced, and he is liable. Control. Control. It's all about control, boys, girls. Okay, here we go. 12. It has previously been explained in Part 1, Topic 4.4, that non-Jews do not become obligated in their commandments or liable for their transgressions until they are knowledgeable, mature, and responsible for their actions. This age is a subject of rabbinical debate. Some authorities say that this is achieved at 13 years for a boy and 12 years for a girl, provided that the person has developed at least 2 pubic hairs. Others say that it depends on the person's individual level of mental maturity, and even if a boy or girl has not yet reached this age, 13 or 12 years respectively, but is already intellectually mature, then he or she is obligated to observe the Noahide commandments. See, I don't know. I think I don't know, because when you're 12 and 13, you can begin to reproduce. So I don't know if the mental state should have anything to do with it.
Well, it's bat mitzvah and bar mitzvah.
A practical example is seen in regard to marriage. A girl will be liable for the capital sin of adultery when a man other than her husband, but only if she has reached the age that she can become truly married according to Torah law. Conversely, there is no status of true marriage for those who are minors according to Torah law, since they do not have the maturity of mind to accept upon themselves a marriage bond. This is explained later on, and then we'll get into that later. It is fitting to not allow boys at the age of 13 or girls at the age of 12 or less to enter into marriage, as most people at those respective ages do not have the maturity to accept upon themselves a bond of marriage. Okay, I think we can get that pretty much. Yeah. Nowadays, it's usually ages around the 17, and for girls, sometimes slightly younger. Like in America, Texas, a lot of states, with parental consent, a woman can marry at 14. I think it was 17 for the man. That's it with parents' consent, common law, because that's when women have been marrying for 14, 15, 16, for, a few thousand years. When it comes to relations between a minor child and an adult, a minor child is not liable. If a boy is within 9 years old with a girl, she is at least 3 years old. If a child is younger than this age, the act is considered to be in a different category than sexual intercourse. All the prohibited relations are prohibited either way by normal or abnormal intercourse. Both are forbidden. Partners are liable for engaging in a manner of these relations. Yes, so pedophilia. I mean, if it's a game of, that's it. It's bad. And it happens. I knew a 12-year-old kid. I was in my teens, and I still kind of had to go over and check in with the baby. I don't say babysitter, but mom was on the road. Dad was out of town in his business, and so I spent some time with the neighbors. And yeah, a 12-year-old kid was bragging about how in this girl broom closet at their school. 12. And she was like 10 or probably something. Second grade or whatever. I don't remember. And that was in the 90s. So I'm sure things have gotten a lot better now. Adulterous relations with a married woman, although abnormal intercourse is also prohibited. Capital sin only engages in normal intercourse. So you can be forbidden. So you can get lashes. You can get all kinds of stuff when it's forbidden with a married woman. And that's the thing here, isn't it? That's what I've heard people excuse. Well, they didn't go all the way. They went far enough. Another excuse I heard from this one woman. Yeah, but I'm separated. We're separated. Oh, what? He sleeps on the couch. You sleep in the bed so you can go out and flaunt yourself all around town. People know who you are here. No one seems to mind. Specific, let's see. Prohibition of adultery is learned from the continuation of the verse, and he shall cling to his wife. Okay, that's from the Kiss of Mishnah. Okay. Forbidden relations, which is literally translates as revealing the nakedness. This, when you get into Torah, sleeping with your father's wife or his wife, or even a mother, but his father's wife is uncovering his nakedness. This is in Deuteronomy, all of it. You don't cover the nakedness of your sister. You don't uncover the nakedness of your, these are laid out.
Yep.
And that this talks about physical contact is not called the act of having sexual intercourse, i.e. relations. Nevertheless, all acts of sexual contact with a forbidden partner are abhorrent and forbidden. See the Rambam in Perush Ha, Mishnah Hayot, Tractate Sanhedrin, chapter 7. When they say intercourse, they mean intercourse, okay? I'm not going to get into that. if you're a child and watching this, talk to your mom. She probably never wants you to watch this channel, but this is not a PG-13 show, and I hope it's not meant for children, and I've labeled it that on YouTube. Hopefully the title will keep the kids out of here. If a man has forbidden relations with a sleeping woman, or if the woman has forbidden relations with a man who's ready during his sleep, the one awake is liable for capital sin, and the one who's sleeping is exempt. Regarding one who is intoxicated, that one has not reached the decree of intoxication of Lot, who was unaware of his daughter's relations with him during any part of the act. He's still liable for his or her actions. So intoxication is no excuse.
Mm-hmm.
A gross topic, and I'm going to just summarize. You don't kill a Neanderthal for having sex with a corpse. It's still forbidden.
Right.
But apparently they didn't take the time to explain they didn't get, we're just not going to get into that. But you're not put to death for it. Can you believe it? They talk about artificial insemination, which I have a problem with. I don't like this. Big thing about the right for gay women to adopt a baby. Well, straights can do it. And my son was talking about this with his dude, and my reaction is, let's see, dad's dead, or maybe took off.
Mm-hmm.
Mama's a crackhead who got caught too many times, and she's in jail, but we get to have a baby. They buy them.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I had a communist in my throat. Sorry. I had to get that out.
You had a communist in your throat?
Is that what I said? Did I say that by accident? Okay.
Yeah, you had a communist in your throat. Okay.
So we've gone over the partners. That's what chapter 1 was about. It was about the sexual partners and sexual acts that are forbidden. And there's a whole lot of are permitted. In other words, we don't kill you for having sex with a corpse. But we will institutionalize you. No, it doesn't say that, but oh my goodness. Like I said, some of the stuff, this book is a little far out, and some of the laws seem far out, but you have to relate to it. So, all right.
There's got to be a law about necromancy in there somewhere.
For what's that?
There's got to be a law in there in Talmud from necromancy.
There's no.
Sad thing is that the zombies are after brains.
If forbidden it. A woman has here it is. A woman who has relations with the corpse of a forbidden partner does not become liable for capital sin. Nevertheless, is forbidden. It certainly violates the sin of spilling and okay.
Well, there's none of that going on.
Oh my goodness. Artificial insemination. It's a subject of discussion. It's a subject of discussion within Torah law as to whether it is permitted for sperm of a man who would be forbidden. Can artificially inseminate either due to their blood relationship or account of adultery. If she is married to another man, it is clear there is no liability for capital punishment for the male sperm donor or the woman in this procedure because forbidden relations only applies to the act of two partners joining in forbidden intercourse. No capital punishment. So you're getting a taste. There's a taste. I want to take a break from this for a second.
Okay.
and probably can finish this over on Rumble, because we're going to get into more on this. But it's a good study. I think we need to think twice about the way where we've been lately. The 90s, there's a Family Guy joke about it. Coming up in the news, kids today are more sexy, and that's pretty cool. And it was a sarcastic joke. But it was true. Then in the 90s, it was popular. In the 2000s, it was real popular to have sexy 12-year-olds. ABC Family, a new kind of family. It was gross. It was gross. They've since gotten rid of the guy who was in charge of a lot of the kids programming at that time. But I even saw some stuff that was like creepy.
Yeah.
Look at Britney Spears.
No.
See how it worked out for her. How about Amy Whitehouse? Look out for her. Look at, we want to, it's put in our faces and whatnot. And then we grow up with this on our heads. We grew up with this in our minds, and we had this thing as to what sex is. I mean, my thing that I could be led by the nose. I didn't learn. It wasn't like something normal. It was implied. It was implied in television and film. For instance, Dennis Prager brought up something a couple he had spoken to, and when they first got together and they were getting it on, he put his hand around her neck, and she stopped everything and then asked him, "Why did you do that?" He said, "I thought you'd like it. That's what they do in all the movies." And she was like, No. Well, you're shown things. Eye-popping, psychedelic. I forgot the quote Kubrick used, but that's kind of what it's become. And it's worked. Because you have a lot of highly sexualized people walking around there and don't know why. If you're going to circumcise a population, you have to have the discipline to be sexually narrow, and it's right next to your shitter for a reason. You don't think, pooping, that's right next to it. The same other thing happens in that area too. It's like, that's how banal it is. And yet we're told today, and we're teaching children in school, and have been people in this country have been teaching kids in school that you should be identifying early on, and you should live by your sexuality. You've created a lifestyle around orgasms, and they can teach anything.
You're supposed to be taught to overcome your animalistic nature.
Thank you. When human beings become animalistic, they go to great depravity when they go that level. We're made in God's image. We can do better. That's I want to say it's a curse, but the animal doesn't have to worry about this stuff. But then again, they aren't destructive creatures either. Even when they eat each other, they're not destructive creatures. We are. And there's a time in America when it was, when women weren't wearing flapper skirts, and there wasn't, these, how the shirts get, there's when women wore longer dresses or a bit more, how you say, what's the word? Not humble. That's stupid. Not what I'm thinking. Modest. Men were tipping their hats to a lady too in this country. Women still had that. Women can be modest, and modesty is power. They taught you that low cut shirts and high heels and just around the knee skirt for no pantsuit. Modesty is a woman's power. That's why God wants you to be modest, ladies. It's not because he's a prude. God wants you to get it on and make babies as a primal commandment he gave to everybody. However, that's your power. When you become, it's one thing to excite your man, but when you're in public, when you go out, that you're at your bars and whatnot, and you're explicitly dressed, you're weakened. And so are the men who come to you. All right. We're going to go over to Rumble. Full stream on Rumble. And we'll get it. Well, I think we'll remain on X too. But for those watching on YouTube, I thank you. I appreciate your support. I think we might have been kicked off. I don't know. Well, we're still streaming over there. So We're going to go exclusively to Rumble for part 2. We've got more coming up next week, every Thursday, right here, 8 p.m. We'd love to have you here. You can always click on that link over here. Yeah, pointing in the right direction. And we'd love to have you in there. So until next week, we'll see you later, YouTube. Moving on.
And for those who are not coming through, Shabbat Shalom.